In the last couple examples here of this lesson, we're going to look at the effects of changing area. So in this first example, it says the circle has a circumference of 32 pi inches. If the area is multiplied by 4, what happens to the radius? Okay, so I'm going to underline this first part again. It says the circle has a circumference of 32 pi. Okay, then it says, the circle area is multiplied by 4. Okay, and then what actually happened to the radius? Okay, so there's the first thing we got to figure out is well, what is the radius of this first circle? Okay, so I'll call this like the original circle. Okay, and it tells us that the circumference equals 32 pi inches. Okay, well, let's figure out the radius by using the formula for circumference, right? The formula for circumference is circumference equals 2 times pi times radius. Okay, and so all I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this part, 32 pi, and I'm just going to plug it in for circumference right here. Okay, so I'm going to say that the circumference, which we know is 32 pi, okay, circumference equals, and then I'm just going to write 2 times pi times radius. Okay, if I want to isolate the radius, what I'm going to do here is divide both sides by 2 pi. Okay, and what I'll find is that our 2 pi over 2 pi will cancel, right? Pi over pi will divide to 1, and 32 over 2 is 6. So we find out that our radius, so I'm just going to say that our radius is going to be equal to, the radius is going to be equal to 16 inches, right? And so I'm going to underline that. That's pretty important. Okay, so now the red part here, it says if the area is multiplied by 4. Okay, well, we don't know the area yet, okay, but we do know this radius, right? So why don't we figure out what the area is? Okay, so I'm going to say the area of this original circle is going to be equal to pi times radius squared. So then our area will be equal to pi times 16 squared. And so that will give us an area of 256 pi inches. Okay, so now I can sort of follow those directions for the next part here. Okay, fairly easily. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back up to my problem here. It says, again, what happens if the area is multiplied by 4? Or if the area is multiplied by 4, what happens to the radius? Okay, so I'm going to now call this, I'll call this my new circle. Okay, and in my new circle, remember, the area is multiplied by 4. I'm going to say area times 4. Okay, well, the new circle, again, I'm going to say area is going to be equal to 4 times the area of the old circle, which was 256 pi inches, or square inches, right? So that means our new area is going to be equal to 4 times 256 is going to give us 1,024, I believe. So 1,024 pi square inches. Okay, and now we're concerned with trying to figure out what the radius is, right? So now I can just use the formula for area, right? I know that the formula for area equals pi times radius squared, right? So I'm just going to take pi r squared, right? This part right here, and I'm just going to plug it into this equation right here for area, right? So my new equation here is just going to be pi times radius squared equals 1,024 pi. All right, and now at this point I'm just going to divide by pi on both sides. I'll do this part in red, I guess. So I'll divide by pi and divide by pi. All right, so these will cancel. These will cancel, and I'll end up now with our radius squared is going to be equal to 1,024. Okay, well, if I want to figure out what's happening to the radius, since r is being squared, I'll take the square root of both sides, and I'll find that my radius is equal to the square root of 1,024 is going to give us 32 inches, right? And so we can kind of look at this, and this is now going to be our answer for radius, and let's just see what our question is again. What happens to the radius, right? And so if we look at our new radius, right, and we look at our old radius, okay, it looks like our radius was doubled, right? So So if our area was quadrupled, right, it was multiplied by 4, it looks like our radius only doubled, right? So we're just going to say when our area was multiplied by 4, multiplied by 4, our radius doubled. And that is our final answer to this question.